Hi,
There you are.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. How's your morning going?
Not so.
Started started
Um,
early, huh?
Started early and had some breakfast and kind of did some little work before kind of getting set up here. And
Nice. Good.
so yourself?
Yeah, it was a busy morning. Obviously, we had the Seattle Rental Group workshop, and then I had a couple showings, and now here we are, and a couple
Nice.
more things going on this afternoon too. It's been kind of a weird. I feel like in the last week and a half, things just like picked up. Oddly enough, I don't know whether people are trying to do things before, let's say, the true holiday season starts in November.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I just felt like everything kind of downtown on the renting side and also sales kind of picked up. So it's great.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And
How
we'll,
about
we'll
you?
push for the winter and the
Hmm.
fall. Yeah,
Sure.
usually I kind of feel right around this time it kind of mellows out right before the holidays.
Yeah.
And I guess people are kind of penning with the holidays, and then once it's all over, New Year's comes around and it kind of picks up back again for me, anyways.
Yep.
And I've talked with other agents and whatnot, and they said that winters are always slow. And I don't know, in my 7 years of doing this, I've always been busy in the winters,
Oh yeah.
and I tend to do like more sales in the winter, and
Yeah, it's kind of
so
funny how that happens. I mean, I think with naturally we work with a lot of investors and so maybe there's people that, they're moving money around, trying to purchase places before the end of the year, trying to sell their properties before the end of the year, like all that sort of thing. And then you
yeah,
get the reload side too, which, moving during the holidays is not ideal, but if you are going to move, at least you have some downtime, from your
yeah,
responsibilities. So,
exactly.
yeah.
But that was
Good.
a good workshop this morning. Thank you.
Yeah, you
I,
bet.
I think a lot of it kind of resonated with me and was able to get some ideas and kind of working with owners on setting expectations for what renters are doing and
Yeah,
on the move out process, which I think is important. There's a lot of kind of unknown territory there that people don't understand, and um, just trying to navigate it all. So that was good.
yeah, good. So for those of you, we had a workshop this morning for a Seattle Rental Group that was specifically geared towards turnovers, and really we're trying to kind of work towards creating consistency. But there's just been so many changes in the laws for renting, and Trevor being one of our property watch specialists and leasing specialists as well as a broker. It's just important for us to kind of stay on top of all that. But yeah, it's the move out coordination process is one of the tougher because you're dealing with condition, you're dealing with the tenant refund, and it can be challenging at times.
Yeah, it's definitely a delicate dance sometimes.
Hmm.
Sometimes really easy, and it's just everyone's just like on par with what's going on, and other times it's it can be brutal. But
Yeah, totally
um,
different.
but yeah, hopefully trying to make tenants and owners understand expectations on both sides of it to realize that what the turnover process is like and what's expected of security deposits and wear and tear on the place um, is great. I thought one of the key points that Joe pointed out in it was the 5 year rule on paint in a home.
Yep.
And yeah, so basically, 5 years, if you've gotten use out of your paint, that's a good run on paint. It's time to refresh it, especially if you have tenants living there. They're not just going to be as protective of the walls as the owner might be. But
Totally. Yeah, just like thrashing. I mean, mostly what is funny is I do find that it might not even be majority damage, but it might be majority normal wear, like the scuffs on the walls and in the closets and stuff. Like I swear people just throw their shoes in their closets and it scuffs the, walls up, or you take your big bag and you just brush up against the wall, like you just don't
yeah,
care about it, right?
yeah,
And so the normal wear actually sometimes is damage,
hmm,
because it's could be preventative. You don't have to thrash down the hallways with your big bags,
right,
right? Like you don't need to chuck your shoes at the wall.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
but those
sometimes
are,
you do, but
yeah, but those are expenses that I think owners, landlords, we have to educate just based on that is a turnover cost that cannot be passed on to a tenant, and that's I think something that not everyone is expecting when renting their property.
yeah. even like informing tenants and letting them know what can be expected, what can't be expected as far as when they move out. And walls are a huge thing because, like you said, you scuff them all the time. Furniture, I've noticed a lot. People put furniture up against walls, just like everyone else is, you put your furniture everywhere. And then there will be like there'll just be that mark next to the wall that you say, oh, there was a table. You can clearly see that there was a table there. And or a bed, there's the oils and stuff from the sheets and the pillows are all kind of now on the side of the wall.
Yeah.
And is that considered damage? Is that considered normal wear and tear? And setting an expectation with tenants on like, no, that could have been prevented.
Well, it's no different than grimy hands on like doorknobs. Like behind you, I see the kitchen knobs, right? That's like something that always happens. Like they all get, especially on white cabinetry, like these little black rings around. It's like, well, it's not really damaged, but you do have to clean that up. You clean it off. Is it cleaning? Is it?
One of my favorite products to use is like the Mr. Clean like pads. They work great for scuffs on walls and like little things like that. And because most of the time cleaners won't clean that stuff, and you have to specially request it or do it yourself.
Yeah. Same here. I use those things until they basically like crumble in my hand.
But you got to be careful because there's certain paints that it doesn't work well on.
Oh, totally. I think it is the flat paint that it doesn't work on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just like you walk away and you're like, uh-oh, it needs to be completely repainted now.
Yep.
Yeah, that's funny.
So. Yeah,
good. So your leasing business, you're kind of through your foot fiasco. Right, your ankle.
I can
back on your feet,
jump in place and run around and hop on a trampoline. It's great. It's been a year.
That's so crazy
since I broke it. So on the 8th of this month, a year ago, is when I destroyed my ankle, and it still hurts, which is weird. I've never having gone through an injury like this. It's just always kind of weird I don't know what to expect. And if the expectation is, am I going to be completely healed where I don't feel anything? But I still, it's still sore. It still limits me on certain things. But and each passing week or each passing month that goes by, I realize like, oh, I can actually like stand on my one foot. I can hop around on one foot. I can kind of run.
You've been conditioned for the last year, just like wearing the masks or staying in or whatever we've been going through for COVID. You've been conditioned not to use your ankle or your leg.
Right.
So it's like you're noticing those things.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have otherwise. It's funny.
Yeah. So it's kind of coming back, but I still don't have the range of motion completely back. It's it doesn't quite go as far as what it should, and I don't know if that'll ever come back, but at least it works and I can get around.
You don't have to scooter and you don't have to hobble, so that's good.
No. Although my kids, they still want me to ride the scooter around. So when they go riding their bikes in the cul-de-sac, they say, "Can you grab your scooter and ride the scooter around?" And my neighbors look at me weird. It's like, I thought you were done with that. Did you break another one? Like, no.
So what have you been working on? Just like, I know you've been doing some leasing and you've actually had quite a few sales, haven't you, in the last couple of weeks, I think, in the last month? Yeah,
within the last month. Like I said, this month is usually kind of slow sometimes, but I've been a little busy. I'm starting to mellow out now. Still got one townhome that's listed for sale. We're working on getting into contract this week. We'll see. And just had a couple closing a week and a half ago, at the place in Mukilteo, which is a little bit of stretch of a drive.
Yeah.
But it was a 3-bedroom condo, which was a large condo. But it's one day on the market.
Oh, geez.
And we got a buyer that went over asking. It was crazy, for a condominium project way out in Mukilteo.
I was looking at the numbers just for condos in general, and I think this is the second month or maybe even, it was a pretty good gain in terms of appreciation, and then also a limited inventory. I think it was Seattle specific was, I think, at like 0.6 for, I shouldn't cite this because I don't have it 100%, but it was very low inventory numbers, inventory down year over year for all of King County, Greater, and then also Seattle and the east side. Prices all up. So, I mean, I think that's just a sign of maybe the housing market's so crazy, so people are looking for alternative housing, and then that's where townhomes are already going crazy, but really that's where condos come in.
Yeah. Have you been seeing downtown kind of get back in the swing of things?
Yeah, I listed, so surprising. Day before yesterday, I've been working on this 2-bedroom at the Cosmopolitan, and we just one thing after another with just delays on different things, from carpet installers to loading dock issues to whatever. So finally got it listed, and literally within 24 hours, we had 4 showings and 1 full price offer, and pending, like no inspection. So
Crazy.
I kind of am feeling, and I've been telling everyone that, we're not in a seller's market quite yet. It's just the building into for condos, because I think, again, it's the affordable housing. People are not purchasing homes. I think the idea where people were kind of spreading out from the core of the city, people are starting to come back in. And either they're renting at higher rates, or they're considering purchasing, and then that's where kind of the condos come into play there. So I almost bet on it, actually. First quarter next year, we might see multiple offers, and kind of go back to that time frame. I want to say it was like 2013 to 14, where we were just kind of pulling out, or it was converting kind of over to more of a seller's market, and all of a sudden by like 2014, 15, 16, it was like, you had 5 offers on condos. Going back to those days is like, you have to reorder your have all your documents in a row. There's a whole other process when the market is hot for making sure that you're doing what you need to be doing. But yeah, I do think we're getting there.
Yeah, I think it was kind of at the south end. Single family homes always been doing well. There was a little bit of a lull, I thought, or not lull, I should say, less of a competition about a month and a half ago or so, when people were putting in offers, and we've been so used to going up against like 20 other offers, and suddenly it was there was no other offers on the table. We're like, well, okay, now we have choices.
Yeah.
But it's kind of bounced back a little bit. There's been a couple homes just in my neighborhood that have been posted up, and like a day later they're gone.
Yep.
And that's still happening all over.
So it's kind of spotty. I think the inventory is still pretty limited, but you might have a really strong weekend where 2 houses come on, or how many, and they go really quick, and then all of a sudden, like the week later, the identical home in the neighborhood ends up having to sit there for a week or 10 days or whatnot. So there's no rhyme or reason to it, really.
Yeah. And it's, with the limited market, it does really help to have other homes available, because it brings attraction to your home that's on the market. I had a listing in Seattle, a condo, and we were getting decent traction on it, but we weren't really getting any headway as far as offers. We got really low offers, so the owner didn't want to take it. But we ended up, there was a new listing that was down below our condo unit that we posted, and it was fantastic. It looked amazing, and so it brought a bunch of people that wanted to come see it. Well, lo and behold, right then and there, we got an offer that same day, that, and it just happens that way. Timing
is everything.
Yeah,
that's good. So are you seeing then more inventory downtown or down south? Is it pretty limited down there too?
Pretty limited.
Yeah.
They gobbled up super quick, and still it was about a month ago, I saw one agent had like 60 or 70 offers that they had to sift through.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh man, I wouldn't even, like, it'd be so hard to navigate all that.
Oh no, you need 2 days to respond.
Yeah. I've been trying to remember. There was someone that was saying, I don't know if I've seen it so much, but I've seen other agents putting out notices to say, hey, we're going to accept a bunch of different offers. So it doesn't mean we're in contracts, and we're going to negotiate on whatever the best is, but we may accept like 5 offers, and to get the best between those 5. I don't think we can do that in our state.
No. And what's funny about that? So where did you see that at?
Just like agents on Facebook groups started talking about.
So that's how they do it in Arizona. So it's like where they could actually, their whole process is very different, because you can send out as a seller multiple counter offers to multiple offers, right?
Right.
And then they could be signed around and agreed upon, but then you as the seller have the right to choose which one it is. So it's like non-binding, basically. It's so funny just kind of learning the ins and outs. And we just sold our house down there and purchased a new one. So I kind of went through the full cycle of the process down there. And it's just Johnny, who we work with down there, I always kind of correct him, like, what do you mean it's like that? Because I'm sure he's just like, Ashley, with all my questions. But like, well, that's not how it is in Washington. I'm like, Ashley, stop, right? You know, of course it's not. But yeah, different areas have just different ways of doing it. And I always kind of wonder, would we ever evolve to something like that? Or when is going to be like a change to where we kind of change our system of doing the multiple offer scenarios? Because you know, we do see, just as they updated the forms the escalation forms and all that, there are a lot of legal implications. And there are a lot of, you know, misunderstandings and just things with going through that process that could be eliminated if it was done differently. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. With all the new things within our agreements, what's the one that stands out to you?
So the MLS forms, just like the new process, I guess, would be, there's two of them this last year, was the finance one, where the automatic waiver versus the just the time waiver for financing. And then the other one would be, I'm sure there's others, but I guess stick right now would be the inspection report. How you now check the box whether or not the buyer or the seller agrees to have wants the buyer to send them the inspection report. I think that's kind of a funny one. And actually, that's a good example also in Arizona. The second you do your inspection, you send the report to the seller.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, because I was like, that is completely bizarre. And I didn't get 100% whether or not that's something that they agreed to before, but I think it's pretty customary that you just straight up after the inspection, even before you respond, you send that over to the listing broker. So they, in theory, then know all the information, you know, that was on there.
Yeah, I guess it could be a good or bad thing.
Yep.
I guess it depends on how they handle it and what they need to have done, or what's, you know, as far as the home and what it needs to do to get it where in a state that it doesn't need to be fixed or repaired, or is it something that could be just, you know, moved on? Is the bank going to be, or a lender going to be, you know, asking questions about it, bringing up red flags on it as well? Lots of number of things.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
How
about
but
you?
I thought it was interesting how, you know, even if you give a snippet of hours to a seller, like, it's, you know, pretty much a breach of contract at that point.
Yeah, totally is. Which updates stood out to you this last year?
It was that financing one, the notice of lifting the financing contingency, which I think is, I don't think a lot of people understand how that all works. It defaults to 21 days, which I thought was really short, considering. Yeah. But I've been bumping that up to, you know, basically the length of the contract.
When you're representing a buyer.
Yeah, depending on the situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to kind of protect the buyer a little bit there. But of course, when the seller wants to see it, they want to see 21 days. That's what the default is. That's what it should be.
Or less.
Or less. Yeah.
I think I saw a purchase and sale agreement with 5 days on it. A couple of weeks ago, and I was like, like, people are getting really creative. 0 days, 1 day.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll notice this.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, lots of new changes on those forms, and lots of new changes in Seattle as far as the laws go, and with on the rental side of things too. Yeah. And trying to prepare investors and owners what those changes are.
I know it's really hard to, and I think everyone's we know the general framework of all these changes, especially the one November 9th that's coming into play for the 180 days notice for rental increases. Yeah. That one's going to be kind of tough, and really, and I know you have an opinion on this too, but it's going to be tough to implement that. I just think 180 days is just crazy.
It's a long time.
It's a long time. In 90 days, I would say, okay, I'd still complain.
Yeah.
But then I'd be like, that's reasonable. You can work with it. But to double the time frame and have 6 months where you have to give notice for especially smaller landlords, right? Apartment communities, I get it. Like they're on kind of this autopilot schedule of issuing, their renewals and their algorithms of their pricing and stuff. But
Yeah.
onesie twosie landlords are just completely different, and so they don't even know. They might want to sell the property. They might want to move back in. That literally no one knows what the market's going to be in 6 months. And in the rental market, the span is so short that it could do the tenant a major disservice, for sure. Or it's the other way around. So for sure it's the other way around. But it could affect the tenant negatively as well.
Yeah.
Because what's going to end up doing is, everyone's going to try to build in these auto increases in order to, and really that's just to protect the owner from the failure of serving the actual notice. I think is the purpose of that. It's not to gouge the tenant. I think it's just to make sure you're safeguarding people.
Right. That if ever a question came back, it's actually in our lease. It was,
exactly.
This is going to happen. What have you been advising owners as far as rental increase? I mean, it all changes with the market from month to month, or even day to day for that matter, depending. Apartment communities are like day to day, I think, or hourly. But what's a good percentage of increase per year?
I mean, if you look at it for, onesie twosie landlords, which we know as, private condo, townhome and houses. I kind of feel like on average, when I look at my owners historically, how they've increased or not increased their rent, really probably ends up coming out to an average of maybe 3%, 3 to 5%. Yeah. So
with this new law, it's basically up to 10% before hitting more requirements for giving notice. Mm-hmm. So I think that 10% is going to, owners are going to see that 10% mark and be like, well, okay, I can raise it up to 10%, which would be crazy. Exactly. It'd be a lot of money depending on the home.
It really would.
Yeah.
And then you deal with, the cost of an owner not renewing is or having their tenant move out is a lot more than taking the hit on the increase, right? So because there's just so many costs involved with turnover. You have paying for a new tenant, the tenant procurement services, and you have the wear and tear on the property that you then have to cover. And there's just so many costs. If you take that and then you divide it by 12 months, you'll see exactly what the savings are for you to just actually strike a deal and keep your tenant. And I think that that's kind of been the logic for a lot of homeowners. But this rule has made everyone think, oh no, instead of me having that opinion or having that logic behind it, it's like they almost feel like they need to implement the increase.
Yeah. Which, like the market changes, so it could just hurt them in the long run at the end. Like I think we're going to see a lot of tenants move because of these increases. Mm-hmm. And they're going, well, I can get a place down the street that's cheaper. I don't want to have to raise my rent. And so they'll move. So then the owner's going to be having to incur the cost to get new tenants in there versus, hopefully keep them in there. I guess they could always go back and say, we're not going to increase it after, 6 months comes around.
Yep. And we've actually talked about that too, with approach of the owner. It's in the owner's sole right to maybe not implement the increase. Obviously everything's open for discussion and negotiations,
right.
When it comes to that. That's what we do. We negotiate the lease term up front. We negotiate the term on the back end. I mean, so it is open. And it would be up to the owner to say, hey, the market actually does not warrant this 10% increase, and we want to keep you as a tenant. So how about this? And is that legal, offering them another price point? Or is it that, you have to go back to what your original rental rate is? So we just have a couple questions that we're trying to kind of figure out before this all kind of comes into play. And I'm attending a class on the 10th about it. So hopefully by the end of the day on November 10th, we will have some answers.
Right.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. But, there's a lot of questions as far as like right now, which once November 9th comes around is when that law kicks in. So owners that have leases that expire January,
Yep.
what are we supposed to be recommending them? Like getting those notices now for increases in January? Or are they just, if they miss the date on 11/9, are they kind of SOL for?
Yeah. I mean, that's what a lot of people have been doing, is serving their notices for next year, and in a weird way. And, I get why the law is, if you are an open-minded and being rationalizing, okay, I get why the law is there.
Mhm.
But at the same time, a lot of these owners rented their places during COVID, and we all know that during the COVID period, things were down 20 to 35% as far as
Yeah.
the rental rates go. And so those owners now are not able to increase, their rent to get them back up to, market rent. I think Jenny actually had one the other day where she was saying, I think the property had rented for like 2,000 or 2,100, and she was like, no, hands down, it'll rent for 26, 25 to 27, no problem in
Yeah.
this market. So like, we're seeing a lot of that.
Yeah. And so this law will kind of push that back a little bit.
I think so too.
So.
Yeah. But we'll get through it, and I'm sure in light of the new kind of the turnover, maybe of little spiciness of the council election that just took place, and the mayor election, maybe things will kind of level out a little bit.
Yeah.
Is what puts me to sleep at night.
Yeah.
What allows me to sleep is, okay, we have a new mayor, and we have a couple new positions that turned over that might be more of an assistance to the landlords that are out there.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Well,
It's all kind of messy right now.
yeah. Are you still baking bread?
So we'll bring this whole full circle.
Yeah.
I've been living very transitionally for the past 2 months.
That's right.
We remodeled our condo, are living with our in-laws in our other condo, or my in-laws, and then we sold the place in Arizona. We've just been doing a lot of things. So I actually haven't had a kitchen to properly do my starter. So I have not.
So where's your starter now? Is it just in the fridge?
It's literally just in the fridge, and it's like slowly dying, and I'll remember, and I'll go feed it. And it's because we have some belongings still in it's in my condo, and the one we're remodeling because we didn't have to fully move out of it. But I'm mumbling because I'm embarrassed that I don't have my starter. But I am going to start it back up because everyone likes eating bread during the holidays.
Yeah.
I promise.
I had a friend he worked at a restaurant out in Tacoma, and I forget the restaurant that he was at, but he basically saw this tub like off in the corner somewhere, and I think it was in the fridge, but it had been sitting there for like a year. No one has ever touched this thing. And so he decided one day that he was getting like, what is this tub full of goop? And pulled it out, and sure enough, it was someone's sourdough starter that started from a previous chef from him. So he built it back up.
Oh, wow.
And he turned it around.
Mold on it?
Oh yeah, it was disgusting on top.
Nasty.
It had like, this layer of liquid all over the top of it. And, you pour all that out and probably drank it. I don't know. And then just this relivened the whole starter, and it ended up working. And one of the starters I originally started was from that batch, and it was like a 10-year-old whatever starter.
Oh, that's cool.
And I ended up trashing it at one point because it ended up sitting in my fridge for too long, and growing some hooch on top of it. And
yeah, that's funny. So do you have your starter going then?
No, actually,
we both fail. Do's or does. We didn't dough.
Wait, but I do,
We don't dough.
I'm still making bread.
Oh, good.
Here and there.
Nice.
Just this one is not a sourdough style. It'll still be rustic style. It'll still be tasty and delicious, but it's using dried yeast instead of like a starter.
Got it.
Which is always good, and it's kind of like my go-to like basic white basic white dough. And it's a good dough to practice on and kind of learn the technique a little bit and still have a good something that tastes good.
Yeah, you call it your basic beezy.
Right. I
Um,
know. My
so you
basic
let
life.
it, do you let it sit overnight then? Is that how you do your,
Not this one. I have done it overnight before, but I'll usually put it in the fridge if I'm
mm,
doing overnight. I think it would be too warm to just ferment overnight with this kind of starter or with this
got
kind
it.
of. But I've done like overnight cold ferments before,
Hmm.
and it seems to do okay.
So would you make the dough in the morning and then let it rise or
This
how?
one's simple. It's like 6 hours maybe.
Oh, okay.
And, I started it just before I came onto this call, and
Hmm.
um, I just put it together, just mix it for a couple hours, and then do the folding process for like 2 or 3 hours, and let it proof for another 2 hours, and then it's ready to bake.
So basically you keep it moving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'll mix it, and then I'll let it rest for 45 minutes, and then I'll fold it, and then I'll let it rest for another 45 minutes, and fold it again. I'll do like 3 or 4 folds like that,
Hmm.
and then shape it, and then proof it, and then it's good to go.
Can you taste the difference? I know obviously sourdough is definitely distinctly sourdough, but
Hmm.
is there a difference that you could tell in kind of how dense it is or the moisture, like all those things?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely when you have a starter, it has a more like tanginess to it,
Hmm.
and that sourdough kind of taste that we all expect from like a sourdough. Um, so it's more just kind of, I would say, like I said, basic. It's just kind of it tastes good, but it's not overly flavorful of those kind of natural yeast flavors. It just tastes like a crunchy white bread that you get at a restaurant.
Yep.
Um, but it's good. It's a good base to kind of experiment with. So if you never experimented with throwing different ingredients into things and don't know how that whole process works, it's a good dough to kind of begin with that. And like so, if you want to do something with like sun-dried tomatoes and
Mhm.
olives, you know,
Garlic.
garlic, you can kind of experiment with this kind of basic dough and throw all those things in without having to go through a 18-hour process of making a sourdough and then ruining it somehow, or didn't
Hmm.
set right, or you forgot to dry the olives, um, and or forget that there's like oil on top of these things, so you don't dry the oil off, and then you put it into your dough, and then also your dough is just like really weird,
Yeah.
tacky, and more tacky than what it should be, and doesn't quite proof right. Yeah,
Yeah.
a
All
lot of
those.
things that can happen in that process. But at least this 5-6 hours mix and match whatever you want to put into it, and then you kind of figure out what your errors were, and it's still gonna get good bread.
Yep. Do you use a Dutch oven or do you form it in loaf?
Yeah. Oh,
Dutch oven. Yeah.
yeah. Jumping on this one.
Yep.
I I got a new oven a couple months back.
Ooh, love that.
So it's a convection style oven. I've never used that for baking before, so I don't know how that's going to turn out. But my oven previously, I don't know if you tried to make baguettes before.
I have.
So steam is a really hard thing to kind of
Hmm.
control and figure out because you need a lot of steam in there, and that's why the Dutch ovens are great because you cover it and it just holds all that steam inside, which creates a really nice crust on the bread and just changes it a little bit differently. Otherwise, it'll be really supple and soft and not
Hmm.
quite what you want out of your rustic breads. But um, like baguettes I made before, and my whole process of making a baguette, shape it and everything goes into the oven. I'll take like some sheet pans, I'll put it on the bottom of the oven and let it get really hot. And then I'll take squirt bottles or squeeze bottles full of boiling water, and then I'll throw the dough into the oven and then spray all this water into the pans, and it just steams everywhere. And then I'll shut the pan door or
Hmm.
the oven door shut, and then it just and it works out great. Um, so I don't know if I'm gonna do that with my new oven because that was an older oven I didn't really care about.
Yeah. So don't be throwing water into the new oven.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know if that's a good thing for your oven or not. So I got to experiment with different methods of creating steam inside that oven.
I know. I was just thinking. I bet you that there's some other way that you can go about doing that, and whether it's water in a tray of some sort underneath, maybe on the bottom rack, or who knows.
Yeah,
Um,
there's yeah, people will put on the bottom rack or into like a sheet pan, um, like a dish of boiling water, and just let it
mhm.
there. I just don't think that creates enough
That
steam.
steam.
Um, and I've heard of people like taking big, thick chains and then pouring water across from that and putting that in there, or lava rocks. I've heard people use lava rocks before.
Yeah.
So be some good experimenting.
Yeah, cool.
Versus my super soaker method.
Well, you'll have to let us know how that goes. I've only sold a few places that have the steamer in it.
Yeah.
The actual steamer mechanism in the oven, and I always like overemphasize. And this oven has a steamer, and everyone looks at me like, "Okay, why would I use that? Oh, you don't bake bread?"
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Was it like a commercial oven type of thing, or was it just like your?
It was two of them have been in residential buildings. They're just really high end appliances. I want to say one was it Wolf? I think it was Wolf. Yeah, both of them were. And so yeah, it's a commercial grade, but for residential, and then they have the little steamer, inside of them for that. It's awesome.
Cool. Yeah, I've never used an oven like that. I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, whenever I get a vacant unit that has one of those, we could have maybe it's a do's and don'ts party.
Right.
Right in there.
Yeah. Fighting over the oven on whose baguette gets to go in first.
Yep. Good stuff. Anything else going on with you, and the family is doing well?
Yeah, family's doing good. Tomei, he's 7 and in school, and the first week or two he didn't like it, and now he really likes it. And he wakes up in the morning and gets ready to go to school and gets excited about it. He was actually kind of sick this last week or so. Wasn't sure what was going on. He had some stomach pains that we couldn't figure out. Could have been food related. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But he's fine now, and he went to school today. But he was worried that he wasn't going to go back to school till his 3rd grade. He was in kindergarten and COVID hit. Yeah. Pulled out of kindergarten, and then 1st grade was kind of online, partially online, homeschooling, and it just kind of didn't happen. And so now he's in 2nd grade, and so he was worried that he was going to miss a whole nother school year.
Oh. Yeah, his age specifically, that's like a very impressionable age in which you learn a lot of things when you are interacting with kids your age, and you're being more social and kind of learning things. So it's like I could see it's just good kids are back in school on many levels.
On many levels, yeah. Like I said, he didn't enjoy it at first, and now he's pretty excited about it. He's starting to make some friends.
Good.
His one big worry when he was going into school back to in person was, what if he doesn't have any friends, or what if people don't like him, and all this stuff. Forget all that. Just
just go.
Just go. Fine. You'll meet people, and then you'll have people you won't like, and people won't like you. Just stick to the people that you care about, and it'll be fine.
Yep. Good advice. That's good. Do you still have your chickens?
Still have our chickens.
Oh yeah.
They're good. We say that they're on strike right now. We have 13 chickens, and we're getting about 2 to 3 eggs a day, which we should be getting.
What's their deal?
I don't know. We had a light. We usually keep a light on in the coop that just runs all day long, and then that helps keep their routine, so they keep laying eggs. And we had that light bulb burn out, and we blacked on changing it. And
interesting.
But now they're molting, but they're silly.
They are. Yeah, but that's still cool. Fresh eggs are the best.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah, well, maybe they'll get their act together. You should go out there and talk to them and give them a little pep talk.
Just kind of sit with them, make a fire, and hang out.
Sing to them.
Throw them some grubs. And
Anything else you want to touch on today?
No, I think that's all I got.
Good seeing you.
You too. And, virtually as always.
Yeah, I'll start up my starter once we get moved in a couple weeks into our place and get settled, and then we'll start kind of posting and making some bread for the holidays. Yeah,
for sure. Well, the good thing about the starter is that it'll still be there, and you can still bring it back from the fridge.
From dead. You can bring it back from the dead.
Yeah, and if you completely erase it, it'll start over, and it's good couple weeks to be back to it.
Totally.
So.
Good stuff. Well, Have a great weekend. It was good chatting with you.
You too. Have a good weekend yourself, and happy November.
I know. Can you believe it's already here? And I honestly, the weeks have already planned out. I mean, Thanksgiving is just like next week, it feels.
Yeah. So speaking of Thanksgiving, we have some exciting news. I guess not we, more or less Jess's, my partner Jess,
Yeah.
my girlfriend Jessica, she has some exciting news.
What is it?
So her brother had given her a phone call or a text message, I'm not really sure. But basically, he and his family had taken an ancestry DNA test a while back, and then it was a couple of years ago. Well, he gets an email saying, hey, I think we might somehow be related. I got like 100% match to you. And I think maybe you have an uncle, or maybe you're a cousin, or something rather. So long story short, it turns out this girl who's in her 40s, late 40s, has been searching for her father since she was a kid. Has finally found her dad, and it's Jessica's dad.
Oh my gosh, she has a sister?
She has a sister.
Half sister. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's just amazing just to
That's
watch
kinda
get all
cool.
excited about it. And
That's
yeah,
so
we had to break the news to her father and like kind of wrap our heads around like
what happened?
yeah, what happened? Where'd this come from? How did you not know?
Yeah.
And get that full story. But for Thanksgiving, we're actually going to meet her for the first time.
Oh, that's so awesome. Is she coming here, or are you guys going there?
We're going down to Portland. She lives in California, so we're meeting halfway at
Whoa,
that set of family.
that is so exciting.
So
That's a
yeah,
so
one of those
thing.
crazy stories that you can't imagine. It's like, oh, by the way, you have a daughter.
Yeah. Huh. Well, that's cool. I think that's
Oh.
really, really neat and really awesome. You guys are meeting for Thanksgiving, and
Yeah,
all right. Well, we'll end on that lovely note.
indeed,
And I hope you have a great weekend, and I'm sure we'll be in touch with each other.
for sure. We'll talk soon.
All right. Bye.